Hello, BookTube. This Saturday started off bright and brassy and incredibly humid. Just a warm, very humid day where any activity outside was going to have you running rivers of sweat. It has overcast in the last couple of hours, and that actually matches the mood of the day. This has not been a particularly good day. I don't like those because you only get so many days, just in general. So I thought I'd make a video about books just to cheer myself up. Just chat with you about books. Not really a mail haul because there isn't enough mail to warrant calling it a mail haul. But there are new arrivals that we could go through. At one point on a long walk today, the Bean and I came across a little free library, for instance. It was a long walk. It felt a lot longer than it was. It was ill-advised because it was so horrible outside that although it isn't technically hot, you're dragging by the end of any medium-length walk, and this was not a medium-length walk, so it was. We were both feeling it by the end. Really, the humidity has to be below 70 to warrant walks like that, unless it's bitterly cold. But we came across a little free library. Ordinarily, I look at little free libraries, but I don't take anything. Because it feels like absolute blasphemy to take books from a little free library when I get books free in the mail. But I was feeling in the need of a little pick-me-up, so I found two. I found a classic, in fact a pen classic, Guy Mannering. Don't think I have a trade paperback of this. I don't think I have this in any format except the ebook that you can get from Project Gutenberg. This is long overdue for a reread on my part. This is the book that Sir Walter Scott had an enormous hit with Waverley, and unexpected an enormous hit, and by the time he got to this book, he was really kicking at the traces of that. He really wanted to I want to do something really different from Waverley, and originally he had the idea for this book being very different from Waverley. He actually backed off from that original conception of this, but the magic was absolutely undimmed. This book was a massive bestseller and an instantaneous one. Sir Walter Scott is forgotten now. He's not taught. He's not read. But he was something brand new in the world of literature. And the whole literary world reacted that way. They all reacted accordingly. He was brand new, and he was exactly what the reading world wanted. And it showed. In the sale of this thing, it showed. So I grabbed it. Of course, with the Penguin Classic, you have to check to make sure that it's not heavily highlighted or anything. This was not written in at all. And I also found this. I found A Lesson in Secrets. This is a Maisie Dobbs novel set in the 1930s, the long run-up to World War II. The pleasure, I guess, is one word. The chill up the spine of these Maisie Dobbs, and I think this is like number 8 or 9 in the series. The chill up the spine of these novels in the 30s is you can feel it coming. You can feel World War II coming. And also these novels clarify, or try to, what exactly Maisie Dobbs is to the government, to His Majesty's government. What is she? Is she an operative of the Crown? Is she an operative of the Secret Service? Is she an operative of Scotland Yard? Is she a little bit of all three? And this book brings both of those elements into highlight. This is one of the earliest books in the series where Maisie Dobbs. There are hints in earlier books, but here she confronts Nazism. Really has no choice but to see it for what it is and to know that it's a threat. And here also, she deals with all the levels of law enforcement in Britain. She is sent to a private college to look into things that the government has thought maybe there's something going on here that we don't like, and we would like you to debrief us. We'd like you to examine it. The head of the college is a pacifist, doesn't care how evil the Nazis are, and he ends up murdered, and that sends everything into a classically orchestrated Maisie Dobbs novel. In those the books before this one, we are often wondering, well, okay, she is wonderful and spry and endlessly readable, but what is she? What kind of authority does she have, if any? And this book brings that a little bit more into the crosshairs. This is 10 years old, I think. 2011. So more than 10 years old. I haven't read it since I read it the first time, so I'll gladly give it another try. Those were harvests from the Little Free Library, and then not straying far from World War II era historical fiction, we have this thing. This is The Red Patch Private by Darrell Duthie, who is an author. This is an indie published book, but this is an author that you've heard me praise before. He did 4 or 5 novels set during World War I, starring a character named Malcolm McPhail. And those books are terrific. They're absolutely terrific. They are whodunits. They are the main character is trying to unravel murder mysteries, but he's doing it sometimes at the Western Front, when you'd think there'd be a lot more pressing matters to go on, and it's all done wonderfully. All those elements are just juggled perfectly. And another benefit from an indie author is that you get to watch them get better at what they do. Darrell Duthie has gotten better at writing as he's gone along, which is terrific. I praised a whole bunch of the Malcolm McPhail novels. I think I praised one of them for the Historical Novel Society, reviewed it and praised it, and then a couple of others for probably Open Letters. And now we have a new series set not in World War I, but in World War II, and starring a new character. Here, let's get the description. This is set in Sicily in July of 1943. After nearly 4 years of war, Hitler's fortress Europe is under siege. An invasion fleet of 3,000 ships, thousands of men, supported by countless aircraft, is headed for the shores of Sicily. Newly demoted Private Archie Atwell yearns for landfall, victory, and an opportunity to prove himself to his father. But as the battalion marches under a searing sun towards the island's mountainous interior and the crack Panzer Grenadier division that awaits them, he is confronted with his checkered past. As the fight intensifies, the harsh realities of war begin to take their toll. Facing a tenacious enemy, their lives and campaign at stake, Archie must choose: stand true to the habits of a lifetime, or embrace the virtues of duty and responsibility he's spurned so often. And I don't know how many of you have been around or remember my praising of this author for his earlier series, but if you're looking for historical fiction that's under the radar of the cookie cutter stuff that you're seeing at the new release table of your Barnes & Noble, if you're looking, in other words, for a really good indie author, you should try this author. Find a Malcolm McPhail novel at your library and see if you like it. And then we have one measly package that's actually really we can open together and see here. I mainly just wanted to artificially perk myself up, especially since at the point that I'm filming this, I'm not 100% sure that I'm going to be able to do a Steve stream tonight, which would surely pick up my spirits. Those always do. So let's see what today's one actual package is. Okay, it's another murder mystery, so and another one in the series, like the Darrell Duthie book. It comes with an enormous amount of blurbs for previous books in the series, but I don't think any of these will be me. I don't think any of them will be. Wall Street Journal a couple of times, Denver Post. Do they still do book reviews? Jacqueline Winspear has a blurb for this, the author of the Maisie Dobbs series. Whole bunch of Kirkus blurbs, but I don't think any of the Kirkus blurbs are from me. Book Riot, Wall Street Journal has done a few of these. Their mystery person must really like these. No, nothing that I think can be laid at my door, because these have not really done it for me. This is by Keigo Higashino, and it is translated by Giles Murray, and it is a Detective Galileo novel. That's the ongoing character here. This is Invisible Helix, and this is set to come out in late December. Higashino is one of Japan's most popular, biggest-selling fiction authors, as well known as Stephen King or James Patterson in his home country. He burst onto the U.S. scene with his 2011 publication of The Devotion of Suspect X, which was shortlisted for an Edgar Award for Best Novel. Now his best-loved character, Detective Galileo, is back in a case where hidden history and an impossible crime are linked by nearly invisible threads in surprising ways. The body of a young man is found floating in Tokyo Bay, but his death was no accident. Ryota Utasugi was shot. He'd been reported missing for a week before by his live-in girlfriend, Sonoka Shimauchi. but when detectives from the homicide squad go to investigate her, she is nowhere to be found. She's taken time off from work, clothes and effects are missing from the apartment she shared, and when the detectives learn that she was the victim of domestic abuse, they presume she was the killer. But her alibi is airtight. She was hours away in Kyoto when Ryota was disappeared, forcing Detective Kusanagi and Utsumi to restart their investigation. But if Sonoko didn't kill her abusive lover, then who did? A thin thread of association leads them to their old consultant, brilliant physicist Manabu Yukawa, known to the department as Detective Galileo. With Sonoko still missing, the detectives investigate other threads of association. An eccentric artist who was Sonoko's mother figure when her own single mother died, and an older woman who was the owner of a hostess club. And how is Sonoko continuing to stay one step ahead of the police searching for her? It's up to Galileo to find the nearly hidden threads of history and coincidence that connect the people around the bloody murder, which, surprisingly, connect to his own traumatic past, to unravel not merely the facts of the crime, but the helix that ties them all together. And this copy comes loaded with blurbs, because this series and this character have been widely praised. I have not seen it. The books are, the Detective Squad, the Murder Squad, is extremely flat. And most crucially, Detective Galileo, he just seems so completely unrealistic to me. And his genius insights are very much along the lines of the TV show House or the TV show Sherlock, where the insights are supernatural. They are the artifice of the writer. The person could not do them. They're made to seem supernaturally insightful when actually they just are supernatural, because they couldn't get from A to B to C in the real world. You couldn't do it in the real world in Sherlock or House or CSI that premiered the whole idea. Humans don't actually have telescopic, microscopic vision. If you have one tiny microscopic drop of blood on your lapel, a human can't zoom in and see that. No matter whether they're Sherlock Holmes or Gil Grissom or whoever, they can't do that. And if you have them do that just so that you can make them seem really observant, the same thing seems to me to always be true with Detective Galileo. He's never struck me as believable at all, much less his role with the Murder Squad. I always think about Raymond Chandler. I always think about The Simple Art of Murder, where he talks about what a real police department murder squad would do to some of these pirouetting amateurs. The Simple Art of Murder, he says what he thinks a police department would really do with them. It wouldn't be pretty, and it wouldn't last long. They certainly wouldn't put up with gnomic utterances, which is what this guy does in every book. But I'll try this one. I will try this one and see if maybe this is the thing that does it for me. I'm a little spoiled because with series like this, the Malcolm McPhail books, I was hooked on book one, and same thing with Maisie Dobbs, the first book in the Maisie Dobbs series, same thing. So I'll give this a try. I have plenty of time. I won't try it anytime soon, but we'll see. maybe it will warm to. I'll warm to it. But anyway, that is one piece of mail, some new arrivals, just to get me talking about books with you, and maybe take a little of the topspin off this day, which would be great. But anyway, I'm going to wrap this up, but I'll be back. Thank you, BookTube.